Michael, welcome to College Admissions Toolbox. How you doing?
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for joining. So I'm really excited to chat with you. You have a wealth of experience in the college admission space, the education space. Do you want to share just a little bit about your background in education?
Yeah, absolutely. I got started about 15 years ago, wrote a book with Clay Christensen, the professor at Harvard Business School, called Disrupting Class, and then we founded a think tank together, the Clayton Christensen Institute, where I did a lot of research, written a lot of books on the future of education, focusing on both K through 12 as well as higher ed, and then left about 5 years ago to do a variety of things. I still do some research out of the Christensen Institute, which is my new book, Choosing College, but I also consult to higher ed institutions through Entangled, and sit on a number of boards and advisory boards.
Fantastic. So this new book coming out called Choosing College. Can you share a little bit about what that book covers and why you chose to write it?
Yeah, so the big question it addresses is why. Why are students enrolling in schools? What are they really hoping to achieve? What's the circumstance that they find themselves in and the progress that they are trying to make and they alone are trying to make through their voices? And then help both the students understand that why, because often this is sort of unconscious reasons in the back of our heads, but also frankly help parents understand how to communicate with their kids and what they're trying to achieve. So it's sort of like a Rosetta Stone for parents, and then really give advice for parents and students to make better decisions around what's, as you know, a really high stakes decision at this point in our society.
So I gather that you're suggesting that not everyone should necessarily go to college. In your experience, in your research, why do students typically choose to go to college?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. You're reading this correctly. But the 5 big reasons that we saw that emerged in the research were not at all what I expected. The first one was help me get into my best school. So these are students who are going because they want to get into the school for its own sake. It's all about the act of getting in, far less about what you'll do once you're in. Outside of sort of a vague notion of the parties you might attend or classes you might take, it's really about getting into the best for them. The second set of reasons we saw was around what we call help me do what's expected of me. So these were students going to fulfill someone else's expectations of them, incredibly apathetic about the college decision process. And maybe not surprisingly, a really bad reason to go to school in the sense of the success rates. A lot of students drop out in this job and so forth. The third reason we saw are students looking to get away from something in their life. So they're running from a bad situation at home, from their hometown, from something else. And it's not about the college itself. It's just that college is a socially acceptable thing that they can tell people that they're going to. The fourth reason we saw was what we're calling help me step it up. So these are students who are saying, this isn't me in my life. I need to help others around me, and I need to step it up, get a better job, whatever it might be. And then the last one is what we're calling help me extend myself. So these were students who were really at a comfortable place in their life. They were often adults who said, I've always wanted to do something else. I'm not quite satisfied. I have this yearning to learn more, be more, and challenge myself, and I want to go back to school to try to help me advance in that. But you know what? If it doesn't work out, that's okay as well. And it turns out that some of those jobs translate really well to school experiences, and some of them don't because they're not really going for school itself.
So I gather that some of these reasons are worthwhile and some are not worthwhile, and you're calling them jobs, right?
Yeah, that's right. It emerges from this theory, jobs to be done, which is basically a research theory that emerged out of Clayton Christensen's research at the Harvard Business School. And my co-author, Bob Mesta, is really the architect of it, and he uses the methodology to help companies in tons of industries, from education to healthcare, to innovate and create products and services. And we're basically using it for the first time to help people make better decisions. What I would say is it's not necessarily that it's a bad job to be in any one of them. It just is what it is, right? You can't control where you are in your life and what progress looks like for you. But college may not be the right answer if you're in a particular job, right? So if you're trying to get away from something and it's all about the act of running away, going to a 4-year experience that's going to cost a lot of money might not be a wise idea. It might make more sense to do a gap year or something like that to figure out what do you really want to do and build some intrinsic passion and purpose. And then from there, you can go to a 4-year school perhaps once you've done that. But it's sort of where are you in your life right now and what makes sense for you next?
How would a student figure out necessarily why they're going to college or what reasons they have, what job they're seeking to implement, for example? Because it's hard to always know one's own reasons.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly the hardest thing about all this, right? Is that you don't know yourself. It's hard to figure it out. And we tell ourselves narratives all the time in the back of our head about what we think we want to be known as doing, or what we want to tell others that our reasons are for doing something. And one of the central tenets of the jobs to be done theory is that people lie about why they choose things, not because they're trying to lie or because they're bad people, but just because often they don't know, right? To your point, it's very hard to go through that process. What we're hoping in the book is by making a lot of these reasons really explicit and telling stories of real students who have made this college choosing process that we literally mapped out in mini documentaries that we share throughout the book, that people will be able to locate themselves, if you will, inside of the book and say, oh, that's me, that's who I am, and that's what I'm trying to get done. Even if they don't want to admit it publicly, at least privately they'll have more of a sense. And in some ways they might actually be, what might be more important is they'll say, well, I'm not sure if I'm this or that, but I'm definitely not that. And therefore it means that these are some guardrails for me in my choosing process. Last thing I'll say is we are creating a free app that we're offering at choosing.college for anyone who buys the book, where they can just jump on and actually take a survey, a 10-minute survey that will help locate them in the jobs as well. So it's just a little extra resource that can help students beyond what they read in the book itself.
Oh, I love that you're offering that at choosing.college. Now, you laid out these 5 categories, Michael, very useful, these 5 jobs where students might have their reasons for going to college. What would be your best advice for each of those categories?
Yeah, so if you're looking to help me get into my best school, really clarify what does best mean for you, right? So you want to say, is it about the campus life? Is it about the purpose of the school? Is it about the extracurriculars, the academics? Be super clear, and we give a 7 flower petal, if you will, similar to what color is my parachute in the book to help clarify that. And then broaden your options so that you don't have safety schools that you're not excited about in case you don't get into your dream school, but that every single one of your school is one that fits into that my best category and you'd be excited to go to. The second one, the help me do what's expected of me, honestly, I think students here ought to have the courage to say, this isn't me right now, and find what we would call a discovery year or gap year type experience, where they can go take a few jobs, take an apprenticeship, take some online courses, maybe a coding boot camp, try out some different things to build some passion and purpose, and then go to school after that. The third one, help me get away, something similar. I wouldn't commit to a big experience that costs a lot of money or as many years, because that's not where you are at your life. You're just trying to get away. And once you've done that, you've actually been successful. And then you should be able to reevaluate from there. The fourth one, help me step it up. Here's where, choose a program where you've crystallized the outcome that you want out of it, right? If you want to advance and become a nurse, say, in a career, great. You know exactly what you want to do. Make sure, just double check that nursing is really what you want to do. And if so, go for the fastest program that gets you there to where you want to go. And then the help me extend myself job, the biggest piece of advice I would say here is that students often were afraid to do something. They almost needed permission from someone else to allow them to go back to school or explore or something like that. And I would say, give yourself permission. You deserve this. You've earned it. And learning is a great thing that can benefit your life, so don't be afraid of it.
Thanks so much for that detailed breakdown, Michael. Really appreciate it. So this was part 1 of a 2-part interview. The book is Choosing College. We're here with Michael Horn. Stay tuned next week where we'll dive into part 2.